What's up? What's up? What's going on, Hoop Dreams fans out there, man? We got a special show today, an update show, our weekly update. But joining us today, man, we brought in a special guest. We brought in Zach, man, to give us his expertise on the WNBA. He works for SB Nation. He is a sports writer and particularly focusing on the Chicago Sky, but his expertise spans across all sports. So we're going to hit Zach with everything today. But let me tell y'all, we got so much going on in the world of sports. You know, the Olympics is coming down, the WNBA. You know, you got the All Star game that's coming up. We just had the NBA draft, and on top of that, there's this NBA free agency frenzy that's like going crazy. And I'm just trying to figure out how me and Agee can get some of that money because it seems like they just tossing contracts out to everybody. But first, before we get started, uh, I just gotta throw this out here. Let me do this first. I'm Will Gates. That's my dog.
Arthur Agee in the building.
AJ, before we get started, man, I just want to throw some love and send it out here, man, to I think a special talent. He just announced his retirement the other day, man. I want to send some love out to Kemba Walker, man. One of the greatest guards to ever play the game of basketball. I mean, you talking about, they call him Cardiac Kemba for a reason. He broke hearts in the NCAA tournament and carried that over into his NBA career, man. And it's like that bittersweet moment that he's retiring. But, man, much love to him, his family, and his history in the game will never, never, never be forgotten. He is truly a warrior. And I'm hoping at some point the Charlotte Hornets doing right, man. They get some kind of honoring there. I don't know, with a statue, number retirement, but he deserves it, man. He put that Charlotte franchise on the map per se. I mean, they've always had some great players over there, but when you think of Charlotte, you go like, oh yeah, that's where Kemba played. But with that being said, man, listen here, man. I want to hit this first because there's so much going on in the world of sports again. The NBA draft, we just had that. I want to get both of y'all take on it because the earlier first round picks, international players, and I want to come from it this perspective. What is happening in the NBA or in America per se that we cannot find enough talent that we have to travel overseas? Is that saying something about here, or is this just expanding the game globally and giving other athletes an opportunity to join what many consider the best league in the world? What's you guys' take on that? Let's start with you, Agee.
I mean, I just think it's like what you just hit on. It's globally. They want to get more eyes on the NBA. So how to get more eyes on the NBA is to go over there and scout, check these players out, see who's young enough, who got enough heart to come into this league and make a name for themselves. I mean, it's been going on for years. I mean, but the influx of this draft and what has been going on for the last 10 years, I think, just looking from the outside in, it's like, hey, let's globalize this thing. We want to bring how we get more eyes on it. Well, go and scout and bring some of their players over to our league, and maybe that'll get more eyes on it. Now, people will break it down to why they doing that. What's the reason for that? Well, why we not getting USA players? Can we find some college guys that? Well, I think the mentality, if you want to go into it and all that, I think it's the mentality of our players in the United States where we think, we are privileged, almost to get those looks and to get opportunities in the NBA, but it's not that easy now. You may have a 6'8", 6'9" guy coming from France, coming from Serbia, and they're more cerebral, they're more savvy and knowing the game because they've been playing at a young age, but playing in more older guys in that league. So I think that's what it is. What you think, Zach?
Well, I think it's a combination of a bunch of different things. I think first and foremost, this is just a continuation of, the game expanding on a global level, dating back to the last 30, 40 years. We can go back as far as the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona with the Dream Team, where the game was starting to become more of a global game. And then since then, you've seen just this surge of European talent, and not even just European talent. You got players from China, you got players from Japan, you got players from other different parts of the world that are starting to make an impact on the game, especially at the professional level. And then also when it comes to the United States, particularly in the college game, it's more of an incentive to stay in college now because of the transfer portal, because of NIL deals, and eventually, student athletes are going to be compensated thanks to the lawsuit that the NCAA or the deal that the NCAA agreed to that would pave the way in the next year or so for student athletes to be compensated. So I think there's more of an incentive to stay in college more than ever because now players can benefit from it. And so
Yeah.
I think I think those two things in particular are the reasons why the NBA or the makeup of the NBA is not what it used to be, or at least not what we are, or at least not what we've come to familiarize ourselves with it.
Well, let me
Yeah.
ask you, both of you guys this, man. Does this hurt the game or help the game? And I'm looking at it from this perspective. Has the international game caught up with the American game that much that they're deserving of the number one, number two, number three, number four pick in the NBA draft?
Well,
Does that hurt the game?
I don't think it necessarily hurt the game. Um, Maybe to the guys who getting picked over, maybe it hurts to them. But you know, I mean that's a kind of a slippery slope there because some. I mean, we don't know how these guys is really gonna pan out. Everyone is going off potential. Off of what they did. Previously. Now when they get into this arena, you know, it's a thing of proving yourself again. Um, but I mean, I think it hurt the game far as the players that's getting picked over, but far as the game globalized and those guys coming over here getting the opportunity, why shouldn't they get an opportunity? They play basketball. They just in another
Well,
country.
well, let me rephrase that question. Not necessarily hurting the game from it growing. I'm talking about hurting the game. Will the American public continue to be interested in an international game? Because if we become an international game, I mean, we have the Olympics. Do we want this in the American basketball right now? Will that hurt the game?
Zach?
I mean, I don't. I think it's hard to. I think it's hard to tell at this point. I think it just remains to be seen. But I do think that again, it's this continuation of the game expanding globally. And when it comes to the Olympics, I think what you'll see as more European players come into the league and get drafted higher and make an impact. I think what you'll see is more players from the European side. Certainly, when it comes to the Olympics, they'll go and represent their home countries in the way that Paul Gasol did with Spain, the way Manu Ginobili did, the way that other European players and other players on the international level did. And maybe because of that, maybe there'll be more attention paid to those players and to those countries to see what they've been able to do. And if we're going to be honest, when it comes to the Olympics, I mean, I know the Olympics are coming up here in a few months. Dating back to 2004, can't believe it's almost 20 years now. I mean, we all remember Team USA winning the bronze medal and
Yeah.
woefully underperforming, and they've never lived that down until 2008 came along in Beijing with the Redeem Team and so forth. But I think what that showed was that at that point, 20 years ago, other countries, Spain, Lithuania, Germany, France, others, they were able to catch up with the United States and compete at their level. And it happened prior to that, certainly, but that was sort of like the culmination point. And you know, and if we're going to be honest, I think that when it comes to the Olympics, I still think Team USA is going to win the gold medal. I mean, it's sort of almost a given at this point. But I would just say that these other countries are up to the challenge and proven that they've been up to the challenge. And so it's going to be interesting to see.